Are we live? We're live. Hello! Thank you for coming to this live stream today, guys. I really appreciate it. I can't tell you how excited I am for this Monday AMA. I've been doing these AMAs every single Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I have a lot of fun doing them. You guys seem to enjoy them, but they can only be good if you guys bring good questions. So the way I try to do them is I come in with a little bit of content in the beginning. Following the content, we move on to the AMA period. So the content I try to make sure is good, but the questions you guys have to make sure are good to make these AMAs good. So we really work together here to make good educational content for the Cardano community. So this is going to be an important one. We're going to be talking about IOHK's staking guide, or IOG's staking guide that they just released for both pool operators and delegates. And as you can see in the title, IOG contradicts themselves with their staking pool/guide. We're going to be getting into that. I don't mean any ill will towards them or the person that wrote this article. But as I've said, transparency is one of the most important things. So I must call out the good as much as I do the bad, at least in my opinion. And this is all my opinion, right? This is totally free content. I'm entitled to my opinion, and so are yours. Please, no hateful comments. Just because you disagree with me, I wouldn't do that to you, and I don't mean any ill will to you with my opinions. So, but first off, if you guys enjoy this video and you enjoy this channel and you want to support this channel, the easiest way you can do so is click the like button. Following clicking the like button, leave a comment on this if you're watching it later, or come up with some good questions. But most importantly is click that notification bell and click all, right? You can't miss out on your Cardano news and these AMAs. And by you clicking that all button, it helps me with my channel. It also keeps you notified. So I would really appreciate that. And also delegating to Bloom 3. We actually just lowered the fees on Bloom 3 to 4% for the next 6 epochs. More on that later. That's part of the big special announcement in this video. But yeah, delegate to Bloom 3. You guys won't lose any rewards for moving your stake to Bloom 3. You do have to pay a 0.178 of fee, but if you undelegate and redelegate before the end of the epoch, you won't lose any rewards to do that. And keep in mind that saturation level is falling to 64 million in December 6th, so we have to start preparing for that. But so let's see who's here today. What's up, Anthony? Thanks for coming by. I really appreciate it. The motivation niche. Howdy. Mulky Dot said IOG lying. They didn't lie. They just contradict themselves. It's not that they're lying. I'm not calling them liars. Motivation niche said, dang, Bloom 3 already 50% there. Yep, we'll have more pools coming later this week, but more information on that later. J Money said, yo, what's up? Thanks for swinging by today, Michael. Peyton, love your pool. Glad I delegated. Thanks, Michael. I really appreciate that. Jago said, hello, everyone. Darko said, hi, everybody. What's up, Darko? I appreciate you swinging by. So, yeah, we'll just get into the thick of it. We've already got 60 viewers here. So, like I said, we're going to be reading the latest article from IOG on their staking guide. So, let me switch cameras over here. All right, there we go. Okay, so the general perspective on staking in Cardano from Professor Aglos Kayas. I probably botched the last name. I really apologize on that. I do hope to be more cultured in the future in my life. I'm working on it, I promise. So one important distinction here, right? I'm saying IOG contradicts themselves, right? So we have to look at this kind of from a top-down perspective, right? You have two different sides of IOG, right? Just because one person is releasing this article does not mean that they all agree on this, right? You're going to have different parts of IOG. I'm sure multiple people have to sign off on this stuff, but this is from the professor. He's the chief scientist at IOG, right? So you're going to have the business side and you're going to have the science and the research side at IOG, right? So there has to be an important distinction there. So when I talk about them, when I talk about contradictions, I'm not meaning their company as a whole, right? Because I understand that there's a lot of people that work for them. So I don't, as I said earlier, I don't mean any ill will, but like I said, I try to be transparent. And if I see some issues, if I see some problems with the Cardano ecosystem, which I do, we're going to be getting into that more later. That doesn't mean that I dislike the company or blah, 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 blah. There's two different sides, right? So if we look at the IOG business side, the IOG business side is going to be the side that releases 20 pools day one. And runs those pools all the way up until the K increase, where they would have to make those 20 pools. I'm going to say like 60 pools, not 60, but maybe like 50 or something. So that's the two different sides, right? So you have the science side, which is what we're going to be reading today, and then you have the business side, which is the 20 pools up until the K increase. So that's an important distinction. So first off, I wanted to read a tweet from him, right? So this is his Twitter, and he's tweeting about the article, which is important. So he said, this blog post gives some guidelines regarding engaging with the reward sharing scheme used in Cardano. The objective is to help interested people participate in the mechanism more constructively for the betterment of the ecosystem. Cardano, by design, provides a high degree of freedom in the way users engage with staking. It aspires to be a highly decentralized, diverse, and entrepreneurial and equitable ecosystem. Viewed from this angle, the guidelines given are largely self-evident. Still, following them remains strictly a personal decision. The system does not follow users or force users to compliance, and it accommodates many different input behaviors. While some strong wording is used in the advice for emphasis, doing X hurts Y users, I want to be clear that no ill will is intent as subscribed to any of the SBOs engaged in the system right now. Same thing for you, Agalos. No ill wills towards you. This is a friendly discussion. He actually does call for people to talk about the reward sharing scheme. So that's what this is. This is friendly discussion. No hate, man. Let's be nice to each other, right? This is for the betterment of the ecosystem, this discussion, right? Because one side is not going to be right. Usually the answer falls within the middle. So at K equals 150 and the high value of D, he means the D parameter, the decentralization parameter, and the K parameter that interacts directly with the saturation of stake pools in Cardano, is currently still bootstrapping, and everyone is learning how to engage best with the mechanism and prepare for the next phases of Cardano. During this learning process, it is expected that everyone would be looking at various different objective functions to maximize perform suboptimal decisions due to being personally operationally still not ready. In some time, strive for local optima reflecting and evolving and understanding what Cardano should be. The architecture of Cardano is robust enough to incorporate such heterogeneity. As we move forward, the objectives behind the design of the reward scheme and the high principles and global maxima that unite the community are useful to be documented. This is the purpose of this blog post. In the long run, the more meaningfully the community engages with the reward sharing scheme, the faster the system will reach configurations that are most desirable to all. As we move to higher values of the K parameter, people will be given the opportunity to reevaluate the current practices and engage in an even more informed manner with the mechanism. Where this will take us exactly cannot be predetermined. This is the beauty of the system as a social construct. Cardano is what the community wants it to be, right? So this is kind of where the contradiction comes a little bit. So Cardano is what the community wants it to be. That's not true. IOG makes all the decisions, right? In the decision process, no one was taken into account. We didn't do any polls on what we thought K should be. So we're not taken into account, right? He's essentially giving us a little bit of lip service saying that our opinions matter. They're taking what we're saying into account. But I actually see the exact opposite. But at the same time, I do like what he's saying, right? He's saying it is going to be in the future what the community wants it to be. And this dialogue, the dialogue that you and I are having right now, is important, right? Because the people that are in the ecosystem will eventually be Cardano, right? So let's just jump into the blog post. I think it was important to read this because he's talking about more really the social aspect, right? So then we had this blog post. This is the original blog post from June 24th. This is from Lars Brunes. He's the education director. Just to kind of give you guys, he had a mistake a long time ago and said that a 3% fee on a stake pool is high, right? So that's what I'm trying to say here. Sometimes people are going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to say the wrong thing sometimes. But it's important to look at this real quick and say that they set in this article, and the links will be down below after I do the live stream, that K was equal to 150 based on the price, right? So K equals 150, that was scheduled at 8 cents, So now we're going from 150 to 500. and that's without an increase in price, right? So that's where the contradictions come from, right? Which is completely fine. People develop different opinions after looking at the ecosystem and how it's developing, right? So they decided that even though we've only had a 2 cents price increase, even though we could go down, we could go up, 500 is where we're going to go, right? So it's important to keep that in mind. And then from this increase from 150 to 500, it drops that saturation level from 210 million down to 63.5 million, somewhere around there. So they released this article last week, and this article was very controversial. You had a lot of people saying, well, how can you guys release this article when IOG currently has, hold on, I have the link pulled up just for this. IOG currently has 20 stake pools, right? So how can you release this article when IOG currently has 20 stake pools? So let's just start reading the article. I'll check the comments real quick. I do want to include you guys in this. Video details. Oopsies. Okay. Miles Parker said, appreciate your honesty and ability to decipher the truth. Big Pay keeps it 100. That's my goal, man. I try to keep it 100. I'm willing to be wrong. I'm willing to be proven wrong, but the truth is always in the middle, right? And that's where this discussion comes from. But I just want to say hello to everybody here. I really appreciate you joining this live stream. 100 people. Make sure you hit that like button. Click that notification bell. It really helps out the channel. Let's get started on the article. Okay. As a project, decentralization remains arguably one of the most important and fundamental goals for Cardano. Protocols and parameters provide the foundations for any blockchain. Last week, we outlined some of the planned changes around the Cardano parameters and how these will impact the staking ecosystem and thus accelerate our decentralization mission, right? And okay, don't leave. There's going to be a little bit of boringness in this article, but it's pretty short, and it's important that I read it all, right? Because if I just read one paragraph, it may seem like I'm taking it out of context, right? So I wanted to kind of give you guys the whole context by reading the whole article. But there is a big issue right now in the Cardano ecosystem, a big issue that is impacting decentralization. And that it's something that needs to be solved, and they're actively working on solving it, but it's something that we need to point out, and it doesn't seem like they're pointing that out in this article, right? And that's why it's more of the contradiction, but okay, let's continue. But stay tuned is all I'm saying. We've got a big announcement coming later, and also we have a key issue with the Cardano ecosystem that we have to point out that has to be fixed to prevent civil attacks. So yet the community itself, how it sees itself, how it behaves, and how it sets common standards is a key factor in the pace of this success. Cardano has very carefully engineered to provide, by design, all the necessary properties for a blockchain system to operate successfully. However, Cardano is also a social construct, and as such, observance, interpretation, and social norms play a crucial role in shaping its resilience and longevity. So in anticipation, I don't know why those three words got me, of the K parameter adjustment on December 6th, I would like to give a broader perspective on staking, highlighting some of the innovative features of reward sharing scheme used in Cardano. Principles and practical intent. As well as outlining some of the key principles, the piece has to have a clear practical intent to provide guidance and some recommendations to stakeholders so that they engage meaningfully with the mechanism and support the project's long-term strategic goals through their actions. Consensus based on a resource that is dispersed somehow across a population of users as opposed to identity-based participation has been the hallmark of blockchain space since the launch of the Bitcoin blockchain. In this domain, proof-of-stake systems are distinguished in the sense that they use virtual resource stake, which is recorded in the blockchain itself. Pooling resources participation is something that is inevitable. Some level of pooling is typically beneficial in the economic sense, and hence reward resource holders will find a way to make it happen. Given this inevitability, the question arises, how does a system prevent a dictatorship or a oligarchy emerging? And this is where it starts to get a little juicy, right? Contrary to other blockchain systems, Cardano uses a reward-sharing scheme that facilitates staking with minimum friction, as well as incentivize pooling resources in a way that system-wide decentralization emerges naturally from the rational engagement of the resource holders, right? Okay, so this is where the contradictions start to come. This is a very, very important thing here, right? So versus mining, so we have proof of stake versus mining. That's what they were talking about. Whereas mining, you need computer power to hold more of the stake, to be paid more. Whereas with proof of stake, you need more stake, right? So they're talking about how do we prevent a dictatorship or an oligarchy of some sort? How do we stop people from not pooling enough resources into one pool? Pledge, right? That's what they're talking about. And they're saying that the way Pledge currently works is it incentivizes pooling resources in a way that system-wide decentralization emerges naturally from the rational engagement of the resource holders. So they're stating that the way the parameters are currently set in Cardano is that decentralization will emerge naturally. That's incorrect, right? So I went ahead and I did the math for you guys, right? And so this is where so the later announcement, we're going to be talking a lot about Bloom, right? It's important because Bloom's been getting a lot of flack lately. And I'm going to tie all this together later. This is a long thing. Trust me, it's all going to tie together. But I went ahead and, okay, a little sneak peek at the announcement later. Bloom, instead of splitting up their pools, which we're going to be talking about pool splitters a little bit more later, instead of splitting up our pools, we're actually going to be keeping our pledge, our 2.5 million pledge in both Bloom and Bloom 2, and we're going to be so Bloom 3 has a 1.25 million pledge extra on top of the 2.5 in both pools. We're actually going to leave all three of those pledges there. In any pool that we open up, we're going to add an additional pledge, right? So Bloom 4, 1.25 million, Bloom 5, 1.25 million, and Bloom 6, 1.25 million. And that's 10 million ADA total, right? I'm spoiling it a little bit, more coming on that a little bit later, but I had to tell you that Bloom plans to pledge 10 million ADA to the network. And we're going to be talking about how much money that actually earns Bloom, right? Because there's a lot of, it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You guys know a lot about that in the crypto community, right? But people are trying to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt about Bloom. And also like Digi, these other operators that do provide a lot of value to the ecosystem. And I think that's for one reason. And that reason is it's a business, right? They want to spread this fear, uncertainty, and doubt so their business will do better, right? So I want to talk about how much money Bloom actually earns extra from that stake. This is very important information. 10 million ADA, so $1 million US dollars at this current price is pledged by Bloom to the ecosystem, right? That's more than a Mergo. We're really putting our skin in the game to show that we're for Cardano. But how much does Cardano pay us for that? How much does Cardano say, okay, you guys have skin in the game. How much more rewards will you earn for that? 412 ADA a year. 412 ADA a year is what Bloom earns for having 10 million ADA pledge, right? So that's how they contradict themselves. It incentivizes pooling resources in a way that system-wide decentralization emerges naturally. That's not true. That's completely false. We make 412 ADA a year at K equals 500 and that's versus 50K ADA pledge versus 2.5 million. And then, it's just, that's the difference from 50K ADA pledge to 2.5 million pledge. And then we just added that all up for all the pools. 412 ADA difference. That's insane. So how are they saying that incentivizing pooling resources is a way? It's not. It's just a lie, right? And that's what I see this article as. I see this article as, hey, we messed up the key parameters in the Cardano ecosystem to prevent Sybil attacks. We messed them up. So what we're going to do instead is write this article and socially push people to follow what we intended in the first place. That's what this article is to me, right? It's very important, right? We have a lot more to get through, but it does bother me a little bit, right? Because I do feel like I provide value to the ecosystem, and it does bother me. But I still am following this article, right? We're not splitting up our pools. We're pledging even more to the network, right? So I am following this article, but it does bother me a little bit how much they contradict themselves. So the mechanism has the following two broad objectives. Engage all stakeholders. This is important since the more stakeholders are engaged in this system, the more secure the distributed ledger will be. Hold on, I want to read the comments after that because I feel like that was like kind of a mic drop right there. All right, I'm just going to do a little quick... All right. I read the comments. We're going back to it. And then also, all right. So I need to go a little bit more on that contradiction, right? So they say they incentivize pools to actually do that, but by increasing K to 500 instead of another number, right? Like say 250 or 300 and doing the gradual like I've called for. And like I said, it's okay for me to call for that because I have different opinions. It doesn't mean I'm attacking you or your pool or your company, right? But by increasing K to 500, what you're doing, and not gradually doing it, right? So whereas a gradual increase would have been, okay, 210 million down to 180, down to 160, and you have a little bit of delegates leaving at a time. And this gives pools time to say, okay, I'm getting a little bit to move, a little bit to move. People educate themselves about the parameters, and then it's good. To me, that's better. That's a better way to do it because you're not making the majority of the ecosystem all have to move all at the same time. And you're not saturating all of these pools that were told these parameters to begin with. What happens? So say we didn't do anything. We didn't make more pools. We left 2 pools up. What happens is they get saturated and then the whole pool, everyone in that pool all earns less rewards because the top half is too heavy, right? So it hurts all of our customers if we don't do anything about it. If we don't make more pools, then it directly hurts our customers because they're going to earn less rewards while the top half is too heavy. So Cardano directly incentivized quite the opposite of what they're saying in this article. And okay, that's just important to note, right? Cardano incentivizes the exact opposite because if we were just to pledge all to one pool, as I said, we would only make 100 ADA extra a year, right? So it incentivizes the exact opposite. So, all right, keep the leverage of individual stakeholders low. So pooling resource leads to increased leverage for some stakeholders. Pool operators exert an influence in the system proportional to the resources controlled by their pool, not to their own resources. Without pooling, all resource holders have a leverage of exactly 1. Contrast this to a pool operator owning, say, 100K ADA, who controls a pool of total delegated of 200 million ADA. Ops. Okay, so that operator has a leverage of 2,000. The higher leverage of the system, the worse its security. So this is another thing we're trying to accomplish with Bloom, right? We want to be good actors in the system, and so far we have shown that we're damn good actors in the system. And I'm sick of people saying that we're bad actors and we're doing this for greed. Just to put into, so we have 10 million ADA pledge. I've said it 3 times already. It will take us 10 years to make that back at K equals 150. So tell me how we're greed, right? It's a joke, man. And that, so K is going to 500. So obviously that 10 years thing is just thrown out the window, right? Which is no problem. You know, we're here for the system. We're here to mint blocks. We're just trying to kind of get rid of all of the FUD about these people that are actually trying to support the system. So based on this, the leverage of the stakeholder, right? 10 million versus the amount that we have delegated, which is around 300 million, right? So that's a good leverage number in my opinion. It should also be stressed that disproportionately large pool size is not the only reason for increased leverage. Stakeholders creating multiple pools, so this is having more pools obviously increases that leverage like we talked about, either openly or covertly, is known as a Sybil attack, can also lead to increased leverage. The lower the leverage of a blockchain system, the higher its degree of decentralization. Putting this into practice, right? So as we said earlier, this is not actually incentivized by the protocol. Right? It's important that these things are incentivized by the protocol because code is law. In a blockchain, code is law, and the only way to get people to do something is to incentivize them to do something. It's important. So putting this into practice. So how does the reward sharing schema used in Cardano meet the above objectives? Staking via our scheme facilitates 2 different paths: pledging and delegating. Pledging applies to stake pool operators. Pledge stake is committed to a stake pool and is supposed to, so it's talking about pledge. It's essentially locking up the amount in order to safeguard and secure the protocol. Delegating, on the other hand, is for those who do not wish to be involved as operators. Instead, they're invited to access the offerings of stake pool operators provided and delegates their stake to one or more pools, in their opinion, that best serve the interest and the interest of the community at large, right? And that's what I've been trying to do here, right? I am actually trying to benefit the community at large, right? And it's, even though you don't agree with me that I don't think K should be at 500 this fast all of a sudden, right? Because to me, that directly incentivizes the opposite of what they're trying to accomplish here. Central to the mechanism's behavior are 2 parameters, K and A naught. I've talked about these a million times before. K is saturation. A naught parameter creates a benefit for pledging more stake into a single pool. Adding X amount of pledge to a pool increases its rewards by adding up to A naught times X. This is not to the detriment of other pools. Any rewards left unclaimed due to the insufficient pledge will be returned to the reserves. So they're saying that the A0 parameter incentivizes people to pledge all of their ADA to one pool, but as we just talked about, pledging only earns us an extra 412 ADA a year. So that's not true. A0 is currently broken, and your first thought is, well, why don't we just increase A0? Why don't we just increase A0? Well, let's go take a look at UMED's Twitter. Let's take a look at what happens when we increase A0. A0 is broken. It's completely broken, and the only way that the pledging system is fixed in Cardano is if we have a complete A0 rework, which would take a lot of time, right? So let me scroll down to where he had this. Umed's an awesome guy. Shout out to Umed, Sky Stake Pool. Cool dude. He has a lot of good information specifically about the financial aspects. Okay, so this is increasing A0 of a 50K pledge pool, right? So let's look. We're at... Let me find this. All right, so these are the actual... Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. I need to look at the rewards for delegates. That's what I want to show you. Sorry about this. I just want to ensure that I show you guys the rewards that you lose as we increase A0. Okay. So this is what happens if we increase A0, and this is why I say the function of A0 is completely broken. I've talked about it before. K equals 500, saturation 63 million. The rewards that you earn from being a pool operator at saturation 64 million at 3% fee is only 13K, right? That's not enough in US dollars to incentivize pool operators to do this. Well, maybe we can fix pledge. Maybe we incentivize people that have skin in the game. Well, let's look what happens when you increase A0. So we're currently at 0.3 right here. 0.3 to 0.35, small decrease. Well, now for pledge to actually matter, we have to talk about the 0.5 range, right? So that takes us from 5.39% to 4.65%. But for it to actually matter, you really have to start getting into the 0.7, 0.8 range, 0.9 range. And then, so what that does to a pool with 2.5 million ADA pledged, which is a lot of skin in the game, in my opinion, only gets 3.61% rewards while giving the rest of the rewards to the people that saturate their pool completely. And that means IOG, Binance, Kraken, whoever these exchanges are. By pledging the full amount to your pool, you get the rest of the rewards, while the average person, the average stake pool operator, i.e. Bloom or even smaller pools, they earn 3% while Binance gets to earn 7%. So that's what happens when you increase A0. A0 is currently broken, and that's where this contradiction comes from. So let's go back to the article. Beyond deciding the amount of pledge, creating a stake pool requires that operators declare their profit margin and operational costs. When the pool operators are allocated to the end of each epoch, the operational costs, and this is another thing I don't agree with. Pair with the, we'll talk a little, because he talks about this a little bit more. He's essentially saying that pools should be honest about the costs. Paired with the assessment of stake pools performed by the delegates, the mechanism provides the right set of constraints for the system to converge to a configuration of K equal size pools with the maximum amount of pledge possible. The equilibrium point has the property that delegator, I feel like it should be delegates. I hate delegator. That just bothers me. Rewards are equalized, so it doesn't matter what the pool or they are delegated to, while stake pool operators are rewarded appropriately for their performance, their cost efficiency, and their general contributions to the ecosystem. For the above to matter, it is necessary to engage with the mechanism in a meaningful and rational manner to assist stakeholders in the understanding the mechanism. Here are some points of advice. Know your pools. You guys know me. I release videos 3 days a week, Monday AMA, Wednesday weekly recap, Friday Cardano Aura. Investigate the pool's available data and information. What is the operator's web presence? What kind of information do they provide about their operation? We have bloompool.io. Based on geographic location, other aspects of their operation, do they update their costs regularly to account for the fluctuation of ADA? See, this is another issue I have. No one can update their costs regularly to account for the fluctuation of ADA. There's no way to do that. The only way you can have a successful pool in this ecosystem is if you charge the 340 minimum ADA the minimum cost per epoch, which is set at 340 ADA. That's the lowest you can go. That's what everyone sets it as, right? I mean, we could probably charge a little bit more, but we want to remain competitive, right? So no operator is going to adjust that ADA cost for the price, right? Do they include costs for their personal time? Of course, 340 ADA per epoch is not enough cost for personal time, and no way one node would even be enough at K equals 500 to account for, let alone lawyer, accountant, server costs, and personal time costs. So no operator accounts for their personal time. Remember that maintaining a high-performance pool requires commitment and effort. I agree. So these committed operators deserve compensation. I agree. Think bigger. Consider your choice holistically, not based on just one dimension. Consider the longer-term value of your choices bring to the network. Think of your delegation as a vote of confidence. I've been saying this for a while. Your first vote in the Cardano ecosystem is on your pool operator, or a way to show your support to a pool's mission or goals. Opt for professionalism and demonstrated long-term commitment to the system's goals. Recognize that community members who have been helping to lay down the foundations for the ecosystem, either with their community presence or by helping build things, the long-term well-being of the ecosystem is crucially affected by your delegation choice. A more decentralized network is more resilient and long-lived network. I have been trying to lay the foundations of this ecosystem with my YouTube videos. I know it may not seem like much, especially now that a lot of people are doing it, but I have videos scheduling back even till the beginning of 2019. I've talked about minting blocks for the Cardano ecosystem on my YouTube channel since March of 2019. So I've been here for a while, and I'm going to be here for a while. Now, this is where we start to go into the controversial territory that people were talking about on Twitter. Be wary of pool splitters. Pool operators that run multiple pools with small pledge hurt delegators and smaller operators, right? Which I agree with the small pledge part, right? Even though you're not directly incentivized as a pool operator to pledge to your pool, like we're not directly incentivized to pledge to our pool, it's important to protect against Sybil attacks, and that's why we do it, right? So I agree, small pledge does hurt delegates, not financially. It just hurts them by hurting the ecosystem. They hurt their delegators because they could have provided a higher amount of rewards by concentrating their pledge into a single pool. This is again wrong. We've already talked about it. By not doing that, the rewards that remain unclaimed. They hurt smaller pools and new operators because they are forcing them to remain without delegates and hence making their operation unviable. Without delegates, a pool may be forced to close, so avoid pool operators that run multiple pools with pledge below saturation level. To me, this seems like complete gibberish. If you delegate to a pool that has a pledge above saturation level, you'll lose rewards. Note that there are legitimate reasons for large stakeholders to accept delegates and run a public pool, e.g., they are delegating some of their stake to other pools to support the community. Consult any public statements such as operators make about their delegation strategy and their leverage. It is okay to delegate to them, assuming their leverage low and they support the community, which we do. So I don't really think they're talking too much about Bloom here, right? Especially after us not splitting our pools up at all. Beware of highly leveraged operators. Be mindful of the stake pool's operators' leverage. We talked about this earlier. A higher pledge is correlated to less leverage when comparing pools of the same size. A high leverage is indicative of a stake pool operator with very little skin in the game. Stake pool operators may prove to have skin in the game in other ways than of pledging. They can be very professional and contribute to the community in different ways, i.e. making a YouTube channel. You should be the judge of this. High leverage in itself is not a reason to avoid delegation to a particular pool, but is a strong indication that you should proceed with caution and carefully evaluate the people behind the operation. And I agree with this completely. And the message behind this is true, right? You want to support pools that support the community. And we'll have an example, the punching bag of the community. We'll show them off real quick right here. 1% pool, right? 1% pool now has 22 pools. I did the math. Guess how much pledge they have for all 22 pools? 200,000 ADA total. So let's do the math real quick. What's 200,000 times 5? That's a million. What's a million times 10? That's 10 million. So that means that Bloom has 50 times more pledge than 1%. So, I mean, that just shows you the difference, right? He doesn't have a face. He doesn't provide value in any other way. He's blatantly here for money. So let's go back. Shop around. Do take into account the information provided from your wallet software or from recognized community resources such as ADA Pools or Pool Tool. In terms of Pool's ranking and its performance factor, remember though, while ranking is important, it should not be the sole factor for your delegation choice. This right here, ranking is not important. Ranking in Cardano on ADA Pools, besides Pool Tool is the only ranking system I like. Daedalus and ADA Pools, ranking, don't follow that at all. It has no importance in terms of rewards, in terms of anything else. ADA Pools is a third party. I love ADA Pools, but I don't like the ranking system. We went from number 1 in the ranking system to 150 overnight, and then from 150 to 80 to then 200. They're constantly changing it. They're a new addition to this ecosystem. They've been here since the ITN, but this ranking system is still being developed, right? It changes all the time. So to say that the ranking is important on a third-party website is wrong. Think holistically. You may want to consider fulfilling a mission you agree with or trying to add value to the wider community through podcasts or social activity, even if they do not offer the highest returns possible. Be involved. A pool with no performance data on display may have an attractive characteristics. It could be providing better rewards in the best case scenario, but also high risk as delegation choice since its performance may turn out to be suboptimal. Delegate according to your risk profile and the frequency that you're willing to redelegate. You guys better get used to redelegating your stake with saturation of 64 million. I'm not trying to be cheeky. I'm just being honest. You have to check your stake every epoch now. Do check the pool's performance and updates regularly to ensure that your choice and assessment remains the best possible. I agree with that. You should check your stake pool every epoch. I would like Bloom delegates to be the only delegates in the ecosystem to set and forget, but it's not going to be the case anymore. We do have to check every epoch. We are trying to work towards that in the future, though. Be transparent. Choose your pool's operation call. Okay, so this is the guidance for pool operators, right? The last one was for delegates, like many of us in the ecosystem. I'm a delegate too, but I'm also a pool operator, so this is the guide for me. Choose your pool's operation costs as accurately as possible. Do not include the personal effort priced at a reason, or do include. So do include the personal effort priced at a reasonable rate. Let's say, or what's a reasonable rate, IOHK? Are we thinking $8.50 an hour? What's the federal minimum wage? $7.15 an hour? That you and your partners put into the pool operation. You are the pillar of Cardano, and so you have every right to be compensated by the community. I have to make jokes sometimes. I'm just joking. Be upfront about your costs and include them in your pool's website. Educate your prospective delegates about where the pool costs are going. Always remember that it's important to change for the time you invest in maintaining your pool. In the short term, you may be prepared to invest your time and energy for free after hosting costs at an effective loss. But remember that this is not a sustainable model for the network over the medium and long term. I agree with that completely. But I'm not sure what they're talking about here. To me, they're talking about including your cost in the minimum cost per epoch. And as we talked about earlier, everyone has to stay at 340. There's no way you can include your time in that unless you're making, let's say, $3 an hour and then getting cheaper servers. There's no way to really include that 340 in there for your personal time. So I disagree with that. But if they do mean that you guys should be honest with your delegates about what you're spending the costs on, then maybe that's something else to talk about. But the way what I'm deriving from this is that pool operators should include that in the minimum cost per epoch, which, I mean, it's not even called the minimum cost per epoch. It's called pool cost, but everyone uses the minimum. So to me, it's just called the minimum cost per epoch now. Don't split your pool. With the coming changes in K, commencing with the move to 500, we are already seeing pool operators splitting their pools in order to retain delegates without becoming saturated. Do not engage in pool splitting unless you can saturate a pool completely with your stake. If you are a whale, relative stake is less than 1 over K, you can create multiple pools, but you should keep your leverage as close to 1 as possible or less. Pool splitting that increases your leverage hurts delegators' rewards, and more importantly, hurts the decentralization of the Cardano ecosystem, which is detrimental to everyone. Again, I see what they're trying to accomplish here. They're trying to say don't delegate to people like 1% pool that don't provide to the community, that split their pools up, that don't have enough pledge. But at the same time, they're wrong, right? Pool splitting that increases your leverage hurts the delegator's rewards. Not true. Which is detrimental to everyone. If you run and control multiple pools under different tickers, make a public statement about it. Explain the steps you take to control your leverage. Creating multiple pools while trying to conceal the fact that you control them is akin to a civil attack against Cardano. This behavior should be condemned by the community, and you can calculate and publicize your leverage using the following formula. Okay, so this is another problem I have. Creating multiple pools while trying to conceal you control them is akin to a civil attack. Of course it is, right? If you create a bunch of multiple pools with malicious intent for a civil attack, that's bad, right? But the protocol should be the one to look after this, right? We shouldn't have to worry about operators not disclosing this. It should be the protocol, the code. Code is law. Incentives matter. The only way we can get actors to do the right thing is to incentivize it. And the only way To incentivize people to not do this is to make pledge have much more of an effect. And also, because 1% pool is just the perfect example of this. Well, let's continue. Exchanges are a special kind of whale stakeholder since they collectively manage other people's stake. One strategy for this exchange is to avoid leverage altogether and delegate the stake to control to community pools. If an exchange becomes a pool operator, they can maintain their leverage below 1 by using mixing, pledging, and delegation strategy. Set your profit margin wisely. This is more issues that I have. This is more contradictions. Select the margin to make your pool competitive. Remember that if everyone delegates to a stake and is rational, you only have to beat K plus 1th pool in the rankings, right? So they're saying that the only way for you to be competitive is to beat the fees of other pools, which have fun with that. Okay, let's finish this. If your pool offers other advantages, a YouTube channel, or 24/7 support by emailing me at peyton@bloompool.io or joining the Discord server, or have acquired exceptional equipment that promises notable uptime and performance, make sure you promote this widely. When you offer such benefits, you can consider a higher profit margin. And this I agree with, right? By providing a more quality, a premium stake pool, we charge a higher margin. Or for 6 epochs, it will be lowered to 4%, a little sneak peek. On the new pools, Bloom 3, Bloom 4, Bloom 5, Bloom 6. Okay, so I have a big issue with this. Let's go to ADA pools, see what I'm talking about. We'll get rid of 1%. So let's sort the pools by fees. Is it not letting me? Okay, so yeah, they took out, I'm going to have to go to pool tool then. They must have took out the ability to sort by fees. They must have been like, not choosing 0%. Okay. Oh, also make sure you're wary of delegating to Bloom 3. There's a fake Bloom pool. Check pool tool. I've actually labeled it as fake Bloom. Okay, so let's rank by fees, and we'll see if that's something that we can do, right? Okay, so these are all the 0% pools. So what they're saying is you just have to be competitive with the competition, right? You just have to raise your fees because of the K increase. We just have to raise our fees to account for the loss of profit, but you still have to be competitive. So let's look at the market. Okay, let's 0%, 0%, 0%. Okay, let's go some pages. Okay, so page 2, 0%, page 3, 0%, page 4, 0%, page 5, 0%, page 6, 0%, page 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, okay, so 11 full pages at 20 per page. So almost 11 full pages, right? So, I mean, that shows you the competition. So that's why the idea of us raising our variable fee makes absolutely no sense. The market's too saturated, the supply is too high, so you cannot tell people to raise their fee to keep up with rewards, but at the same time, tell them to keep their fee competitive. That makes absolutely no sense. So let's go back. Keep your pool updated. Regularly update the cost and margin to accommodate the fluctuations in ADA price. Yep, see, again, what I just showed you guys completely takes this. In case of mishaps and downtimes, be upfront and inform your delegators via your website. I do like that. If you do have any problems, if you do lose rewards, be upfront about it. That's so true. But yeah, like I said, this is not true. That's not a real thing. I mean, in theory, right? In a scientific theory, that sounds awesome. Pledge as much as you're able to. Increase the amount of pledge as much as you comfortably can and not more. Beyond your own stake, you can also partner with other stakeholders to increase the pledge of your pool. A high pledge signals long-term commitment and reduced leverage and unlocks additional rewards as every epoch dictated by a knot in the reward sharing scheme calculation. Again, wrong. As a result, unless you're Binance, right? You pledge 64 million to your pool, you'll be doing great. As a result, it does not make your pool more desirable to prospective delegates. On the other hand, so this is true. Pledge does make your pool more desirable. On the other hand, remember that pledge is not the only factor that makes a pool attractive. Spend time on the web and social media, and be sure to advertise all the ways you can contribute. If you are a Cardano stakeholder, we hope that you find the above advice and information helpful in your efforts to engage in staking. As many other aspects of Cardano brings a novel and heavily researched mechanism to its blockchain design, the reward scheme is mathematically proven to offer an equilibrium that meets the set of objectives set out in the beginning of this document. Ultimately, though, the math is not enough. It is only the people that can make it happen. That's the part that I disagree with, right? I'm coming back to the chat. I'm going to see how you guys are all doing today. How was that performance? I just did that all off the cuff. Was it okay? Did I explain my point? You know, I was thinking about making a video, editing it so I can really get my point, but I just wanted to get some feedback, you know, while I'm doing it. So how was that? But just to close up on the article, the issue that I actually have with this article is that it pushes people in the community to be mean to other actors of the community, right? It's essentially stating, even though we didn't build Cardano right to incentivize people to stop Sybil attacks, what we're going to do instead is tell everyone how to act. And this is a huge problem because people like me that are in the community, like Rick, like anybody, are going to get a lot of shit for this. I can't think of a better term. They're going to get a lot of shit for making another pool, even though I'm not pool splitting, even though I'm adding more pledge, I'm securing the network even more. We're going to get shit by other people that read these articles as gospel. And this is what I'm saying. IOHK has a lot of people. I've heard Charles say 250 people, right? So one article from IOG, even though multiple people probably sign off of it, does not account for IOG as a whole. And if you go back and look at this article back from June 11th, with the K increase, they threw everything they said in this article out the window, right? So these articles cannot be used as gospel. And as we said earlier with this, let's switch back to, and then I swear, 3 seconds, we're going back to comments. I think Rick is the one that retweeted this, so I'll be able to find it. Okay, right here. Where this will take us exactly cannot be predetermined. Big statement right there. Where this will take us cannot be predetermined. I'm allowed to have my opinion, and I'm willing to be wrong. That's all you can ask of somebody, you know? All right, switching back to the comments. Oh, that's the video. All right. Him Chu said, can you show your math on the pledge rewards? Go check out Umed's Twitter. That's where I got that. You can see it just by, he has a chart that has 50K pledge versus all the way up to 64 million at K equals 500. That's where I got that math. So the math was based on K equals 500, A naught equals 0.3, and pledge of 10 million. 21 said, Bloom, thanks, man. I missed all the comments, so you guys might have to repeat them. Just curiously on how you only got 400 odd ADA with 10 million pledge over 6 pools. That's what you're paid in difference, right? That's not counting the staking rewards, because the staking rewards they just shouldn't be counted, right? Thomas said, nice job. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Octoman said, once Voltaire comes online, don't we have to vote for changes? We do. Ardubato said, yikes, relax. I'm hyped up, man. I drank a lot of espresso. I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I'm just hyped. I do have a good announcement to make, too, so I'll finish off these comments, then we'll go ahead and announcement. Can you explain why increasing pledge does not increase rewards? It does, but it's very, very minuscule amount, right? Like I told you, as pool operators, we only earn an extra, hold on. I closed the calculator. I can't see what I calculated. I think it was like 400 ADA, like 400 something. So it's because A naught is broken in its current function. That's why. That's the only reason the increasing pledge does not increase rewards. It's blatantly that A naught's broken. The only one it increases rewards for are people like Binance that pledge the whole amounts of their pool. Crestbed, you're on a roll today. Thanks, man. Sorry, I've just been getting a lot of crap lately. I took a Twitter break. It allowed me to really collect my thoughts. 0% pools could go on promotional fee free of VMs. Could go up after the promo. Hello from Madrid. Hello. Thanks for swinging by. I really appreciate it. Hello from Ohio. Ohio, United States. Yes, increasing pledge does technically increase your rewards, but not by much. Yep, we looked at doubling our pledge, but it only increased our rewards by like 6 coins. That's a huge problem. Hey, Martin. Hey, Martin, you should really, if you're just getting here, Martin, you should rewatch after this. Rewatch the first. I went on for 45 minutes? Oh my God. That's insane. I can't believe I just went on for 45 minutes. I can't believe that. Imant said, I love you, man. Be careful. You're getting too emotional and thinking on now only. I'm not getting too emotional, man. I just said, like, take this. I'm not getting emotional. I do that though. When I go on rants, I mean, I just ranted for 45 minutes. I'm going to get, oh, I'm on. Sorry about that. I'm going to get when I'm talking for 45 minutes. So I wasn't emotional. I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I just have to give my honest opinion. Marcel said the article might be becoming more true once the curved pledge formula is fixed. Until then, additional pools are the way to go. I agree, Marcel, completely. Jago said, you're not being profitable right now. Be honest. No, I'm being profitable. I've never said that we're not being profitable. Consider that this will only continue as K equals 1,000, and this is the goal by Q1 stated by Charles. Agreed. The idea of K equals 1,000 and Q1 of March is absolutely insane to me. If you would have asked me if they would have increased 500 right now in December, based on what I know about the current ecosystem, what I know about the reward scheme, what I know about what operators are paid, what I know about pledge, K equals 500 made absolutely no sense to me, and K equals 1,000 sounds like lunacy. I'm just being honest, right? I mean, literally one of the key points of this channel was transparency, right? So you're going to have to take the good with the bad when it comes to transparency and honesty. Him said, thanks, Pay. If you could actually show the math and not the charts, so how did you got those numbers? Man, I really just spent 45 minutes on it. I don't want to take the time. I understand that kind of sounds like a cop-out, but if you message me afterwards, I can show you how I got the numbers. All this talk will be irrelevant when ADA becomes $3 to $5. That's true, but is ADA $3 to $5? No, it's not. Do I calculate my cost and how much earnings I'm going to make or how much I have to pay based on $3 to $5? I don't. I try to run a sustainable business at 10 cents and at 5 cents and at 3 cents and at 1 cent. I don't think about $3 to $5. And man said, keep that smile. I've been smiling, man. I've been smiling. I'm not upset, I promise. I just have to, I've been getting a lot of shit lately, man, so I do have to come out and kind of give my opinion, Maybe a juice will help. Thanks, Carlos. I do need a juice, man. I should have bought one. I'll make sure I have one next time for you. 99.9% of people have only been employees and know nothing about the passion of running their own business and the mindset needed to be successful. That could be true, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty young and I'm running my own business. My whole life I've always wanted to be a business owner. And that's why I'm happy, even though that I don't agree with some of the choices made, I'm still happy that I'm living my dream in a way, Yago said, just to let you know, there's lots of pools outside the U.S. and countries that can be profitable with less than your numbers. This is a global economy. I agree with you completely, Jago, but one of the intentions of Cardano was to allow everyone to participate, both people in low-income countries and both people in high-income countries, right? So by saying that other people in countries where they make less can do the same thing that you're doing for less, you shouldn't be able to do it is a terrible thing in my opinion, right? Cardano is supposed to accept all, right? All right, so I wanted to go ahead and do the Bloom announcement. I pretty much already soiled it. So, and then I'll get right back to the AMA. We'll go on for a little bit. Let me take a drink of water first. My mouth's dry. I see we got $31 in super chats while I was ranting. That's pretty funny. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it, man. It means the most. Okay, so the Bloom announcement. Okay, you said, do you think Cardano is a good investment or not? Not financial advice, but Cardano is where the majority of my holdings are. Okay, so Bloom. What's going on with Bloom, right? We got to deal with the saturation value. The saturation is dropping to 64 million. So what are we going to do, right? We can't let our pool saturate as that'll cause all of our delegates to lose rewards. So we're making more pools. We currently have Bloom 1 through 3. So we're going to be making Bloom 4, Bloom 5, and Bloom 6, all with their own pledge. We will not be changing the pledge of Bloom 2, Bloom 1, Bloom 3. Excuse me, water burp. So we will not be changing the pledge at all. We will be pledging more to the Cardano network to show that we're here for Cardano. We're not here for profit. We're here for the longevity of the ecosystem, right? So also, what are we going to do to incentivize our delegates to not only move to our other pools, but to stay with us? We're going to be lowering our fees on Bloom 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to be lowering our fees from 5% to 4%. And we're going to be doing that for 6 epochs. So that is a 20% increase, or 20% less fees that you guys have to pay to Bloom. And that's also a 20% decrease in earnings for us on those pools. But we're doing it as a thank you for your support for Bloom thus far, and as a thank you for staying with us. It really means the most, but we're doing this to prove to you guys that we're not here for greed. Like I said earlier, for us to make back the pledge that we have currently to our pools, it would take greater than 10 years at K equals 150. So we're not here just for greed. If you guys saw the amount of money you made, you would laugh at the greed comments. I mean, it's a joke, man. We're here for Cardano, and we're going to be here for Cardano, and we'd love for you guys to stay with us. But yeah, that's kind of the big announcement. So fees on Bloom 3, Bloom 4, Bloom 5, and Bloom 6, they're going down to 4%. They're going to stay like that for 6 epochs total, so you guys can actually earn more in those pools for 6 epochs, and it's just as a thank you. I also wanted to give out a crew neck in this video too. I wanted to give out a nice little Bloom crew neck of some sort. So I'll be giving out at the end of the live stream today. But yeah, that's the big announcement. I also wanted to show you guys how to verify pool IDs. This is very important. There are scam pools in the Cardano ecosystem. They're trying to steal your delegates or your rewards and our delegates, right? So if you delegate to one of these scam pools and they don't have their pledge met, you won't be paid any rewards, right? So how do you as a delegate of Bloom verify that you're delegating to the right pool and not a scam pool? Well, it's very simple. You come to Bloom pool, right? And then we need to go to, I think it's in the staking category. Yep, there it is. So you go to staking and you scroll all the way down. You see Bloom ID, Bloom 2 ID, and Bloom 3 ID. This right here, the pool 1, that's the Daedalus ID. And the one above that is the Roy Ada Pools ID. They both use different IDs. So you make sure if you're on Daedalus, you verify the bottom one. I'll go ahead and zoom in real quick just so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. Pool 1, that's Daedalus. This one's Ada Pool / Roy. It wasn't even a water burp. It was a fish oil burp. Ugh. Okay. On to the AMA. Great question, Javier. You said, when can we see Bloom 4 through 6? Okay, Bloom 4 is going to be coming out later tonight. I didn't talk about this earlier, but I was supposed to have Bloom 4 up for this live stream, but literal shit started coming out of my ceiling. I think a sewage pipe broke or something. Literal shit was coming from my ceiling, and then here's Big Pay down to his boxers with buckets, trying to clean this shit up. I'm putting buckets down to catch the shit. I'm getting towels. I'm putting towels down. You know, so I was cleaning up literal shit. That's why Bloom 4 is not out today. So that there's going to be a delay on Bloom 4 till tonight. You'll see Bloom 5 and 6 later this week. Yeah, it's been a very stressful day. Maybe that's why there's a lot of energy behind me, because I was in my boxers cleaning up literal shit before I took a shower. It's been a wonderful day, I must say. The crypto chiropractor. I haven't been able to find an in-depth Cardano inflation schedule. Can you discuss what you know a bit? Stock to flow ratio, average annual for 2021 through 2025. I know it slows about every 7 years. Charles Hoskinson. Okay, so I don't have all of that information. I think the person to contact would be Umed. But as far as what I know about the decay, it's similar to like a radioactive decay, right? It's just a slow drop. It's not all of a sudden rewards drop in half like Bitcoin, like the halvening event. Instead, it's a slow decay in rewards, whereas if the luck were the same, Bloom would have paid more yesterday than it will tomorrow if the luck were the same, but the luck's not the same, so you're not really going to see that unless you're looking at it in perspective like a year and 2 years. So from what I've read, currently with the amount of people staked, the rewards will cut in half every 6 years. So 6 years from now, you'll be earning half the amount you would today from staking. Then he said, are you suggesting an A0 increase? I'm suggesting the exact opposite. A0 is broken. It's not. It does not work in the way it's formed. To me, it just seems clearly made. I'm not saying they made it for this, but it's like if I was looking at this and question why it was designed, it seemed designed to pay Binance more money. By increasing A0, you don't incentivize people to pledge 100,000, a million, 2 million. You incentivize people to pledge saturation, and you take the rewards away from the people that pledge 1 million, 2 million, 100,000, 500,000. So increasing A0 lowers the rewards for everyone and gives those lost rewards not to the delegates but to Binance. So I don't think that's a good way to go. Yeah, Miles Parker said, shit from the ceiling. Law, life is a comedian. It really is. It really is, man. Aha, he said, Dear Big Pay, would you please answer me quickly? Which one do you advise to use, Daedalus or Yoroi? I actually use Yoroi and Daedalus, but I prefer Yoroi. I would say use Yoroi on either mobile or on the browser, but make sure when you create a wallet, you keep that recovery key very safe. That's going to be the access to all of your funds, and make sure you choose a password that you don't use elsewhere. Imant said, Big Pay, you are a correct person, and I value your values, even if you sometimes are not in line with logic. That's fair, man. I really appreciate that. I mean, that's kind of all I asked for, right? If you enjoy my content, to not just dislike my stuff just because you don't agree with me or you don't follow my logic on something, right? Because we're all learning, right? That's why I'm willing to be proven wrong about all of this. But from my experience as a pool operator, I read every day. I do this stuff every day. This is what I can derive about the ecosystem to you guys, right? And I could be wrong, but I would love for you to hear my opinion, and I would love to hear yours, Chris said, you deserve to be a big SBO player. It's a chance to have SBO like you in our ecosystem. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that, Chris. I don't think I deserve anything, but I really appreciate that, man. Denny said, interesting. It seemed like IOG was too deep in theory when they tuned the network reward parameters. I agree completely, Denny. And I think IOG is a little bit too deep in theory when they talk about their K increase to 500 over a gradual increase to, even if it was 500, right? I've always said a gradual increase would have been way better than a large increase like this. I think they're too deep in theory, and they don't have an actual idea of what delegates are like in the ecosystem, right? I get hundreds of emails per week from delegates. I have a good idea on the knowledge and the education of current delegates, and that's what I base my opinions on is kind of my experience, right? Niels Kijif said, what are your thoughts on auto delegation? I think that's a terrible idea. What if you're auto delegated to a bad pool, right? And then, so let's say we do auto delegation. Your response to that is, well, we can just have a list of pools that are good and just. That can be the auto delegation. Well, who gets to pick those just and good pools? That makes it centralized, right? I don't like the idea of auto delegation. Thomas Baker said, people also need to keep perspective. Pool operators and pool delegates have totally different perspectives. Operators have it 100x harder. They do all the work for us and take all the risk. Yeah, there's a lot of risk that we take, man. I mean, even just in the time that I've spent doing this, not including the money that I've spent doing this, even in the time, it's a lot of risk, man. It's a lot. Rob Gregg said, do you play chess? I have. I don't play it regularly, but I actually do enjoy it. I had somebody teach me it last year, and we played a lot. This was before COVID. We used to go to this nice coffee shop in Yellow Springs, Ohio. Yellow Springs is amazing. I love Yellow Springs. It's got the Glen Helen there. It's a beautiful place to go hiking, and it's 10 minutes from where I grew up. And I mean, I love this place so much, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. But it's where Dave Chappelle lives. I know everybody knows Dave Chappelle, but that shows you like that if he's willing to live there, it's probably the coolest place in Ohio. But we used to go to this coffee shop called The Goat, and they have these little chessboards out, and we would just sit there and drink coffee, and we'd listen to live music and play chess. Man, it's a really good time, and I hope everything clears up so I can have those good times again. Richard said, I thought Nexus staking rewards and also transaction costs will going to SBOs and Delegator in the future for rewards. That's true, man. Transaction costs do go both to SBOs and delegates in the future, but the transactions aren't really high enough to really count them as a good income, right? We're looking for Goguen. We're looking for more transactions on the network before that really starts counting for both delegates. But you're right, though. What's supposed to happen is as rewards go down, adoption goes up, right? So then adoption means more money for both of us, right? Because adoption means more rewards from transactions. So it's supposed to really, everything's backwards. Okay, right? So rewards go down. You get what I'm saying. As rewards go down, transaction goes up, so the rewards should stay similar. That's the goal. That's the intention. Porcupine Bum said, "Hi, Pay. Have you gotten a chance to deep dive on Ergo or AGI yet?" I haven't. I actually spoke to one of the lead developers of Ergo. I'm trying to have him on the Cardano AMA podcast. I'm looking forward to that. If he does decide to come on, I'm sure he's a busy guy. I haven't really dove too deep into AGI other than the Lex Friedman podcast with him, and also the Joe Rogan podcast, and then also the IOHK podcast. So my knowledge about AGI is very top down, you know. Denny said, "I also agree with your A0 view. Increasing A0 incentives incentivizes Binance-like situations where operator pledges to the whole pool and the staking mechanism gets moved to a centralized off-chain operation." Yeah, agreed. Celtic said, "From Wales, UK here. Thanks, man. I appreciate you tuning in. It's really cool to see where you guys are tuning in from. It's always awesome to see people, viewers from all around the world. I was going to say delegates, but I hope not everyone that watches these are delegates. I mean, it'd be cool, but I want it to be kind of more broad." Billy says, "It just seems real F up about the A0 with Binance." I like how you said A0, A-N-O-T. That's funny. So I learned this in physics. A0 means A0. So some people say, it's lowercase a. A0 means A0, but I like the way you spelled that, man. It's funny. Stake pool size should be the function of A0. The higher pledge, the bigger the pool size. I've heard a lot of people say that. You know, I would have to look into it. Doesn't seem like a terrible idea, you know, but in a way that kind of allows more delegation to go to people with more money. So I can see the issue with that. But at the same time, those people do have a lot of stake in the network and you can see they want the best. They want the best for the network, you know, unless it's the actors like Binance, you know. So then you go along the lines of, well, Binance shouldn't be able to run pools then, you know, if that's the way it's going to be. I've said from the beginning, and they even said back in the summit that Binance and these exchanges won't be able to run pools, but it just kind of threw out the window. I don't know where that went. Chris said, "Look at Deadpool, which is a very small pool, doing 10 blocks out of 4.6 estimate. It's huge rewards. No big pools are doing so. So why is there that ADAs on small pools?" So when you delegate to a small pool, you have to pay a lot of ADA to that minimum cost per epoch, which is another thing that I've called to get rid of multiple times. I think the minimum cost per epoch should be 0, and there should be a minimum margin, right? Because the minimum cost per epoch hurts small pools a lot, and so did the D parameter. And that's why it makes me mad when people say, "Oh, he's just arguing about this because it hurts him." When you look at my videos, if you actually watch my content, every single issue I have with the network, whether it benefits me or whether it benefits somebody else, I talk about, right? That's that transparency. I'm telling you guys, that's the key, right? That minimum cost per epoch hurts those small pools, so that's why I think a lot of people don't delegate to small pools. And also, the only reason they did 10 blocks out of 4.6 was luck. They won't get the same luck next epoch unless they're damn lucky. But shout out to them, man. That's awesome. Brian said, "Hey, Peyton, you're misleading people by suggesting that A0 doesn't influence rewards. A0 equals 0.3, which means the highest pledge pool will yield 30% more rewards than the lowest pledge pool." So I'm not misleading people, right? Because that highest pledge pool that actually earns 30% more have to pledge 63.5 million ADA to their pool to earn more, right? So then when you look at people with 1 million pledge, they don't earn any meaningful amount more, right? So I'm not misleading people in any way, right? That's a general broad statement. Yield 30% more than rewards in the lowest pledge pool, right? You're right. That's not wrong. But the way A0 is, I think, is completely broken, and you should incentivize the lower end, the different squadrons of the lower end, more than you should incentivize Binance and IOG and Kraken and these other big whales. Just look, Brian, look into Brian, if you understood how the incentives actually work, you would realize that you're wrong. I mean, just blatantly, you're just wrong, man. I went over this earlier. For 10 million pledge to Bloom, we're going to earn an extra 400 ADA per year, right? So, I mean, that shows you that the incentives model's messed up, and that article would be wonderful and a beautiful article if the incentive structure for ANOT and pledge actually worked, but it doesn't, as I've said over and over again. But I appreciate it though, man. Call me out, man. I love it when people call me out, especially if I'm wrong. Just keep the question coming if you want to keep going. We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes, but the AMA part's really only been going on for 5 minutes. But there's currently 130 people here. I did actually have to... 1 second. Just keep the questions coming. Okay, so that's a good question, Porcupine, but real quick, I just wanted to give a shout out to the sponsor of this AMA. It means the most, Alien Stake Pool. Make sure you guys check them out. The link will be the first link down below. Alien Stake Pool, thank you for sponsoring this video. Make sure you guys check them out on ADA Pools. Thank you. Do you have any advice for a small retailer, restaurant, etc. that wants to implement cryptocurrency for payments? That's a good question, man. I really don't have any advice. It would be cool to be able... in the current structure, it seems like the only way to do that for the average small business that's not really technical, there would have to be a third party involved that charges a fee. That's the only way I really see that happening, because a lot of businesses don't want to be paid in ADA unless it's like a small amount of their transaction, say 5%. Because the fluctuing of cryptocurrency, right? They don't want to be paid in ADA because they don't know if they're going to have enough money to pay the bills, you know, especially if you're a restaurant. You know, I think the restaurant margins are like 4%, you know, so if you have a 4% margin, you can't have 10 to 30% fluctuations overnight on the income that you made, or you'll lose your business, especially when at the same time you're worried about the government closing your restaurant down. So... show math or proof that ANOT is broken. You can go back and watch the earlier part of this video, but Simply Human, you're always on my videos to talk shit. It seems like you enjoy my videos, but you also love talking shit, and for that, I commend you. We'll go ahead and take a look at Umed's graph, and I can show you that ANOT is broken. Let me find it. Let me find it. All right, so I have this pulled up, so we'll go ahead and go to Just Post. So this is one way to look at it. This is another way to look at it. So currently, ANOT equals 0.3, right? So if we increase ANOT, look where the rewards go. To people with 64 million pledge, right? And that's the maximum pledge to a pool before they hit saturation. So when you increase ANOT, you take rewards away from delegates and operators that pledge 1 million, 2 million, 10 million. You take rewards away from them while giving it to people that pledge the whole pool. So think about what pledging the whole pool means. That means you have 64 million ADA to yourself, right? So what that does is it gives more rewards to Binance, IOG, these other big stake pool operators, these other big whales, Kraken, Coinbase. It gives the rewards to them and takes them away from you. It's that simple. It's very clear to me that it's broken. It's not just me that has this opinion. The majority of people that are educated on these parameters see that ANOT's broken, and the only way to fix it is a change in the function of ANOT to incentivize people on the lower end at 50,000, 100,000, 500,000 5 million, right? You have to incentivize people on the lower end. It has to be a curve, right? Instead of I think it's an exponential function. I mean, that's the only thing it looks like an exponential function to me, right? Because it is. I mean, look, 4, 5, 6, 8, 20, 26, 51, 77. So A naught is exponential. So it helps the people at the top and not the people at the bottom like you and I. So that's why it's broken. We can switch back to the chat now, but that's the last time I'm going to talk about it. I want some nice AMA questions. Darko said, incentives are hard. A healthy debate will lead to the sweet spot. Thanks for putting on the discussion, Pay. I really appreciate your opinion, Darko. I mean, that was the whole point of this was my opinion's probably wrong. IOG's opinion's probably wrong, and the sweet spot's somewhere in the middle. That was the whole point of this discussion, and I'm happy that you saw it that way, and I'm happy that I portrayed it that way, Incentives are hard, and I don't blame anybody for getting the incentives wrong because, I mean, this is a new thing. So it's just important to talk about, It's not good just to keep it kind of in the down low and act like a K increased 500 is going to fix everything when in reality, K does not work proportionally without a functional A naught. I've been saying that for a while now. Manuel said, what's the minimum cost per epoch? So the minimum cost per epoch is currently set at 340. So there's supposed to be something called a pool cost. And that's where the operator is supposed to put the amount that it costs for them to run the pool. And that's supposed to be server costs for their time, maybe even costs for their legal fees, right? But it's at minimum, it's supposed to be their server costs. But someone brought up this point. I've talked about this for a while, even back until 2017, I think April 2017. I had a video where I see the cost of stake pools going to zero because a lot of people want to do this. Demand's going to be high. So I've been saying this for over a year that the fees are going to trend to zero, right? So they put the minimum cost per epoch in place to stop that trend to zero. And if that trend to zero did happen, which it is, as we went over 11 pages, so 11 times 20 that's how many 0% pools there are right now. So we saw this race to the bottom, but to ensure that people have enough money to run the pools, they put this 340 hard minimum, right? To where you can do 500 per epoch, you can do 1,000 per epoch, but you cannot do 339. It's the minimum, right? So that's what the minimum cost per epoch is. It's the minimum that the pool cost of a stake pool can go, and the pool cost is your costs. But most of the people in the community do actually do 340 to stay competitive. Ken Fritchie said, incentivizing the lower end of pledge will lead to centralized entities like exchanges or small companies controlling the market by offering many pools at optimal pledge using economies of scale. That's completely wrong. That's completely wrong, Ken. The exact opposite is happening with the way it's currently incentivized. You incentivize large entities like Coinbase, Binance to pledge all of their pool and not leave any room for delegates, take all of the delegates' rewards, and centralize all of the reward schema to their pool, right? Bringing that to the lower end is going to support both small businesses like Bloom, we're a small business even though people don't think that, and hobby stake pools that have 50,000 pledge, 100,000 pledge, and that's all I ask for is a nice equilibrium for both small businesses and hobby stake pools. And the current reward structure is not doing that. Go. I'm doing a live stream. What? Scott said, hi, Peyton. Sonny from Bisbane. What information do you need? Do you just need something quick? You just need something quick? Fly Over Me said, this game is early. We'll get it all worked out. I agree with you completely, man. We're still early in the game. We're almost done. Scott said, hi. Oh, I already read that. What's up, man? What's up again? Sorry about that, guys. That was the, so remember how I told you earlier that the shit was falling from the ceiling? Well, that was the shit doctor right there, thankfully. And I told him I'd call him right back. Scott Collins said, do you feel that Goguen Services and Hydra Services will finally let SPOs make a living from their operations? I hope so, man. As long as the reward scheme's right and the price of ADA increase, yeah. As a pool operator, can you pledge with Daedalus Wallet? No, you cannot currently pledge with Daedalus Wallet, like just as a function, right? You need the staking keys. The creator of the pool needs staking keys from the Daedalus Wallet to actually make the pool. Dave said, I like the discussions. I think there are a multitude of problems, though. First, they can't keep changing parameters every 5 minutes. Second, I think we have to do what's best for network, not delegators. I agree, man. I didn't say this is kind of worse for, I guess I did in a way because more delegates are going to have to deal with saturation, but I mean, that's the only issue, then that's fine, but I didn't say that was the only issue. Carlos said, how does one win the crew neck? How about this, Carlos? It's yours. It's yours, buddy. You got it. Just DM me on Discord and I'll give you one afterwards. We want exchanges to saturate via pledge. We don't want them to competing for delegates, which will happen if we incentivize low pledge. Ken, that's again wrong, because without a right a not parameter, then no one will secure the network from Sybil attacks, and we leave this big hole in Cardano that one person, one entity can open up 100 pools, or how much ever pools you need. I guess with K equals 500, you need 251 pools or something like that. So 251 pools or 250 and a half pools to do this, right? So no, I disagree, man. I do. Celtic said, can you tell us how to delegate to Bloom with a Ledger Nano X? I actually do have a video on that. If you get on my channel, I think it'll be about 10 videos down. Also, if you search how to delegate with Ledger and Yoroi, I should be one of the first 5 to pop up. I think of the SEO is usually on point with the channel. But we'll go on for another like 10 minutes if you guys give some good questions. Michael Lester said, are you really giving an extra 20% to delegates if they move to new pools? Yeah, so the new pools will actually have a 20% decrease in rewards for 6 epochs, and that's going to be on Bloom 3, Bloom 4, Bloom 5, and Bloom 6. That's just a thank you to all Bloom delegates for supporting us thus far, and then continuing to support us in the future. So it really means the most to us, and it's really the least we can do. I mean, it's a 20% loss in income for those pools, but if that's what we have to do to show you guys that we really do support you, or really do appreciate your support, then that's what we'll do. So. I'm not getting any more questions. We're about to be logging off, probably at the 25 mark if I don't get a good one. How about this? I'll take 2 more grand questions, 2 more good ones. Michael Lester said, wow, thanks. I'm going to move there. No problem, man. Chris said, did you sell some ADA at 1,500 sats? I didn't, man. I told you I'm here for good. 15's not the way I'm going out. I mean, it would have been a good idea if I bought some now, or sold some and bought some now, but it's a risky game to play. Porcupine said, do you feel like a crazy person when you try to explain Cardano to normies? I do. I mean, just imagine if you guys were in my shoes and people were like, well, what do you do with the majority of your free time? Well, I make videos about a decentralized cryptocurrency, and I also run the servers that process those transactions for the cryptocurrency, and it also decentralizes the network. And you lose them at the first word, right? I think you're crazy, right? So you say, oh, I make YouTube videos, which that first puts you into a category, right? And then you say, I run servers, and for a decentralized cryptocurrency, there's a whole nother category. They definitely do think I'm crazy, man. Dennis said, I don't know if the question has already been asked, but do we need to change from pool? I am now in Bloom 1. So Dennis, I wouldn't want to make you change your pool, but I would really appreciate it if you changed to Bloom 3 or Bloom 4 or Bloom 5, Bloom 6. Those pools will be open up later this week and early next week. I'm trying to get them all up in this next epoch, but stuff is pretty hard. So But yeah, so I would appreciate it if you move to Bloom 3, Bloom 4, Bloom 5, Bloom 6. We will be lowering the fee 20% for 6 epochs, which is a month, just to say thank you. The Grimm's Prodiology said, I've been trying to wrap my head around the whole concept of staking since mainnet launch. I was staking to Bloom, but I saw that it became saturated. Bloom has never become saturated, Grimm. The saturation level, December 6th, is coming down to 64 million. So that's why I'm asking you to switch to Bloom 3. Just make sure you verify the pool ID. It's never been saturated. Do my ADA still go up if I continue to stake to Bloom? As long as you're staking to a Bloom pool that's not saturated, your ADA will go up. Even if you were to stake to a saturated pool, your ADA will still go up. It'll be by a lower amount, right? So I really do recommend switching to another Bloom pool to make sure that the pools aren't saturated on December 6th, right? But you still have about 4 epochs to do that, so about 20 days before you would lose any rewards. So just please move to Bloom 3, Bloom 4, Bloom 5, Bloom 6 within the next 20 days to ensure that you don't lose any rewards and none of the other delegates of Bloom lose rewards. And like I said, 20% incentive for people that do so. People need to remember what you try to pass on to others about Cardano and how good it is. Would you give them the time of day with any other cryptocurrency? We all might be emotionally invested. I mean, I would give them the time of day with another cryptocurrency, right? But that's because I'm like in it, you know. But maybe if I was not interested in this stuff, then I wouldn't do that, right? I would just like, oh, decentralized, meh. I've had a good life, man. The government's been good to me. I don't have to worry about centralized banks. I put my money in there. They pay me back if the banks go bottom up. They pay me back. Screw it. Why would we ever need anything else, right? So I can see why people don't give the time of day to them. Jack said, thanks, Pay. Really good information. Dennis said, thanks for the videos and update. It's great. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Another video coming Wednesday, another video coming Friday. I've been trying to move towards 3 videos a week. It's hard, but I've been trying to do it. And then also I need to start uploading on the Big Pay clips. Grim said, thanks, Pay. You're very knowledgeable. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I'm trying to get more and more knowledgeable every day. But I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I also want to give one final shout out to Alien Stake Pool for sponsoring this video. 1 second, we can pull up their ADA pools. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for sponsoring this video. As I've told you guys, YouTube does not pay me much for these videos. This live stream I'll probably make about eight bucks from. So these sponsors really do help my videos. So there's Alien Stake Pool. Big shout out to them for sponsoring this video, man. It means the world. So thank you. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like on this video, a comment down below if you're watching it later. If you made it to the end, please type Monday Cardano AMA. And make sure you leave a like, turn on that notification bell, man. It really helps me in that algorithm. Making these videos is like shooting in the dark, but I can see a lot of you guys come to them, man, and it means the world. It's really fun doing this stuff. So I hope you guys all have a good rest of your week. More videos coming.